This is the story of the 300 Spartans who went undefeated in war. But that's not all. This is also the story of their king, King Leonidas, and his rise to becoming a legend. Leonidas wasn't born a king. He was chosen to be one. You see, back in ancient Greece, the Spartans were known to be the most badass warriors in the world. But they weren't a very big kingdom. They were small, isolated, and had very few allies. Now, this wouldn't have been a problem if they were weak, but they weren't. The Spartans were actually very powerful. And because of this, every single Spartan male from the age of 7 would be trained in the art of war. So even though there weren't many Spartans, the ones that did exist were extremely dangerous. However, every now and then, a neighboring kingdom would get a brilliant idea of invading Sparta, or at least trying to... And when that happened, Sparta would send out her elite warriors to deal with the threat. These elite warriors were called the ephors, and each ephorship consisted of around 300 men. Each warrior had to be a citizen of Sparta, had to be a male, and had to be over the age of 30. Other than that, any Spartan male could become an ephor. If he was strong enough to survive the training, the first thing any Spartan male would learn was obedience. Their instructors would push them to the breaking point, just so they could make sure that these warriors would be able to follow orders no matter how hard things got. Next, they'd learn the art of stealth. If you ask me, this was probably the most important part of their training. Because if you can sneak up on your enemy, then you've already won half the battle. Then came the combat training, where these warriors would learn how to use their shield and their sword in any situation. And finally, they'd learn how to ride a horse. And this isn't exactly necessary for warfare, but it sure as hell made their entrance on the battlefield a lot cooler. Now, after all that training, it was time for these warriors to prove themselves. Every single ephorship had to go undefeated in war. And if they did, then they would be allowed to wear the red cloak, which symbolized courage, honor, and strength. Now, it might seem like I'm making this stuff up, but it's all written down in history books. These warriors would go on to win many battles against the Persians, the Athenians, and the Thebans, to name a few. But with all these victories, there's bound to be a few good stories. And we have 3 of them for you right here. Click to subscribe and let's get into it. No. 1. The Battle of Thermopylae. This has to be the most famous Spartan war ever. The year was 480 BC, and the Persian army was marching on the small Greek kingdom of Sparta. At the time, the Spartans were busy fighting off another invader, so they only had 300 warriors to defend the pass of Thermopylae. But those 300 warriors were all that stood between the